champ is here! The champ is here! The champ is here! The champ is here!
Good morning, it's Uncle Lou here. Yeah, that's right, it's me, Uncle Lou. Live for you on LouTube today. I'm gonna turn this light on. How'd that be? Yeah, that'd be just fine. It's Uncle Lou here. Yeah, that's right, it's me, Uncle Lou, live on LouTube for you. Hey, subscribe to this channel if you're not already. I post college football videos almost every single day of the year. There is no off season here. Just a part of the season where we don't have any games being played. That doesn't mean we don't have games to talk about, though. I'm doing a whole series of non-con game previews for the 2022 season. I've done 5 or 6 already. There's a playlist. You can check it out on the channel if you're curious about my thoughts on some of the other games. But up today, Texas A&M versus Miami, or as it's being affectionately referred to in my comments section over the last couple of weeks, the Felons versus the Farmers. I like that name. I don't know who came up with that. I wish I could take credit for that one, but I can't. But I have seen that posted a bunch of times over the last few weeks. The Farmers versus the Felons. Could be an interesting game. Jimbo Fisher at Texas A&M versus Mario Cristobal as new head coach of the Miami Hurricanes. These two teams have only played 3 times throughout their history. They had a home-and-home series about 15 years ago. I think it was 2007 and 2008. And Miami won both of those. Texas A&M won the first time they played way back in the 40s. It was a blowout, 70-14 or something, sometime in the early 40s. But yeah, played 15 years ago. Miami was already in the ACC, of course, at that point, 2007, 2008. Texas A&M was still in the Big 12 then. So Texas A&M, of course, in the SEC now. Miami's still residing in the ACC. Still yet to win the ACC, too. Been in there, I've been in there 20 years now? 18 years? What's it been? How long y'all been in the ACC? You can't win it. You got Pitt winning ACC titles. Wake Forest has won an ACC title in that time. Georgia Tech won one back in 2008. I mean, everybody's winning these ACC titles except Miami. But it's the offseason, so you know what that means. This is the year. That's right, not just for ACC titles, but Miami bringing it all home again this year, just like they are every single offseason for the last 20 off seasons in a row. Texas A&M, before you start laughing, why do y'all lose 4 games every single year? Look, if people like to do these prediction and preview videos, I do them too. You know, I spend all this time looking into these teams. I don't know why I spend more than about 30 seconds researching Texas A&M before I do my prediction and preview videos early in the summer. Because you know Texas A&M's going to lose 4 games. They lose 4 games every single year. You know, the people like to hate on the SEC for being overhyped. And I think in general, that's not true. I think the SEC has been the best conference in all of college football over the last 20 years. There's been a year here and there where they weren't the best, but if you look at the last 20 years overall, SEC, cream of the crop. But Texas A&M, man, they do seem like they repeatedly get overhyped, and it's happening again this year. And look, I understand Texas A&M's recruiting class was amazing. There's no doubt about it. I don't have anything negative to say, no jokes to make, or any way to clown Texas A&M's most recent recruiting class that they just signed. How many freshmen are really going to have an impact this year, though? This recruiting class is not going to send Texas A&M over the top. It's just not. Texas A&M is going to be ranked. How high is Texas A&M going to be ranked in the preseason? Probably in the top 10. They finished last season unranked, and they lost half their starters, including like their entire defensive line, which is probably the best unit on that team. I don't understand. I don't know if it's Jimbo Fisher. And look, shout out to Jimbo Fisher. Winning a national title is not easy, and he managed to do that at Florida State, okay? So let's give the guy credit where credit is due. Made it to the playoffs another year in 2014. He won the last BCS title in 2013. Jimbo did at Florida State. 2014, first year of the playoffs. Undefeated regular season, wins the ACC, makes the college football playoff, loses in round 1. So, you know, Jimbo has proven that he can put together a team capable of winning it all, but God, not this year at Texas A&M. Now, that doesn't mean they can't beat Miami. Texas A&M, way more talented than Miami. And Mario Cristobal, although I do think he's an A+++ recruiter and probably a B head coach, which is good. That's not a knock. I mean, you look at what he did at Oregon. You know, at times it was impressive, times it was head-scratching, right? Go on the road and beat Ohio State? That's impressive. Get blown out twice in the same season by Utah? Not so much. Oregon was the favorite to win the Pac-12 the last 2 or 3 seasons he was at Oregon, and every single year they just found a way to lose. It was weird. Oregon has been, headed to the playoffs a couple of times in November, and then they go on the road and lose to a 5-loss Arizona State team. It's just been weird. Not saying that will translate to Miami, but coaching and coaching advantage. Mario Cristobal versus Jimbo Fisher. I think right now you'd have to have Jimbo Fisher a little bit higher than Mario Cristobal if you were, ranking coaches, over the course of their careers at least. Doesn't mean Mario Cristobal won't end up being better than Jimbo, and it doesn't mean Miami can't win this game. But it's on the road at Texas A&M. You don't really know who Miami's quarterback is going to be. They finished last season with the Tyler Van Dyke kid, who I thought played really well. Broke some of Jameis Winston's passing records. I thought he played really, really well. The Miami fans that I know and talk to, they seem kind of split on it. There's some that, why not just go with him? Why wouldn't you go with him? I tend to agree with that. There are some quarterbacks on the Miami roster who most people think are more talented, have a higher ceiling, or more highly rated or recruited, things like that. So I can understand the back and forth there at the quarterback position, but it'll be interesting to see what Mario Cristobal does. They had a good recruiting class this year too, not on Texas A&M's level, but again, not very many freshmen impact the course of a season, even in today's college football. Yes, there are a lot of freshmen, if you look across the country, that have impacts. But as far as, you take Texas A&M, a perpetual 8-4 team that lost half its starters from last year, a great recruiting class isn't going to fix that overnight. You're not suddenly going 15-0, I don't think. Same thing for Miami, right? Good recruiting class, but, you need 2 or 3 of those in a row, right? Then you strike. So I don't know. That doesn't really have anything to do with this game. That's more along the lines of season goals or expectations for these two teams. But the Farmers versus the Felons, though, this will be a good one, man. A good game. This is in week 3, by the way, which I love. First of all, I love that it's a home and home. Let me get that out of the way. I try to mention that every time. I hate these neutral site games. So shout out to both Miami and Texas A&M for scheduling a home and home. People look at me like I'm crazy, but I have this weird idea. College football games should be played where? On a college campus. And yes, I know Georgia has a neutral site game again this year, week 1. Play Florida neutral site every single year. And guess what? I hate it every single year. I want college football games played on college campuses with the exception of some bowl games at the end of the year or a national title game. But anyway, that's a rant for another day. This will be a good game. Shout out for scheduling the home and home. I do think Texas A&M will be favored in this game. That I will say. Forget the recruiting class they had this year. If you just look over the last 3 to 4 years worth of recruiting classes, which is what makes up the bulk of the rosters on these teams, Texas A&M has recruited at a higher level than Miami over that span of time. So they do have more talent on the team there. And it's at Texas A&M, and that's not an easy place to play. There's over 100,000 people there, the whole 12th man thing. It's a tough spot. Now, as far as the games leading up to this, neither team plays anybody really worth a shit in week 1 or week 2. Miami, I think, plays Bethune-Cookman and Southern Miss. That should be 2 relatively easy wins for Miami. So if Miami doesn't know who their quarterback is heading into the season, they have a couple of games to maybe play 2 or 3 different quarterbacks and try to figure it out, because you're going to have it settled before that week 3 matchup on the road at Texas A&M. And then you look at Texas A&M's schedule, it's a similar situation. They play a nobody week 1. They do play App State week 2, which they should beat App State, but, App State is, upper echelon group of 5 team, but shouldn't be going on the road to beat Texas A&M. Texas A&M doesn't have a single true road game the entire month of September. So the schedule, at least, sets up for them in the front end pretty good. All of their games are either at home or they do have 1 neutral site game in September against, I believe, Arkansas. They don't play a true road game until October. So I don't know how much you'll learn about either one of these teams, honestly, in week 1 or week 2, because they're playing competition that is so inferior. No one's going to be surprised to see Miami and Texas A&M win those first 2 games by a combined score of 100 to 17 or something like that overall between the 2 games. So I don't know how much you'll know about them heading into it. I do think Texas A&M will be favored, like I mentioned. More talent. It's a home game for Texas A&M. Again, this isn't a prediction video. That doesn't mean I'm saying Texas A&M will win. If I had to pick the game right now, if the game was being played tomorrow and I had to pick the game right now based on what I know about those two teams, I'd go with Texas A&M, and really the deciding factor for me would be it's a home game for Texas A&M. It would be as simple as that. Because even though I think Texas A&M is a little bit more talented than Miami, Miami's got a lot of talent. They do. They've got a lot of talent. Mentioned a good recruiting class. I do like Mario Cristobal. We'll see if he can get kind of some momentum rolling at Miami. Miami's got to win. How many games does Miami need to win this year? Let's say you got to assume Miami's starting 2-0 against Bethune-Cookman and Southern Miss, right? Even if they lose to Texas A&M, okay, 2-1. Who else in the ACC should legitimately be competing with Miami this year? Clemson, Florida State, maybe, some people think NC State's going to be pretty good. I don't care who Miami plays from the ACC. Really, they should be winning 9 games a year in their sleep, Miami, honestly. And, if you talk to the Miami fans, recruiting has been a big part of the reason why they haven't been doing that. And with Mario Cristobal, they're hoping to improve there. Miami, I fell for it before where I said, oh, look at this schedule. Miami should win 9-10 games easy. Come out 8-4, 7-5, whatever it is. But Texas A&M too. Outside of that 1 year with Johnny Manziel, Texas A&M has been an epic disappointment. Well, you have the coronavirus year where they went like 9-1 or something. Well, that was a weird year. You had schedules were changed around, conference only, games canceled and postponed. They did go 9-1 that year, but other than that, man, you could write it down. Texas A&M is going to lose 4 games. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the fact that they're farmers. A bunch of farmers running around in G.I. Joe costumes they bought off of Amazon. They're 2 sizes too small, twirling wooden guns around. I've been through that whole spiel about Texas A&M and their ROTC costumes that they like to wear and the buzz cuts and yell practice and all that. So, the farmers versus the felons, I can't quit laughing about that one, though. But I like that this game is in week 3, though, because we've got several big non-con games in week 1. We even have some really big ones in week 2, and we get this one now in week 3. So, and then by week 4, pretty much everybody is in full-fledged conference mode by that point. So you have good games every single week in almost all the conferences, right? It's usually week 2 and 3 are the worst weeks of the season, honestly, because you always have a lot of big games week 1, right? And then you got somebody's playing like all these FCS schools or such and such school for the blind or Miami of Ohio or whatever, like that Ball State, stuff like that. You got some big non-con games the first 3 weeks of the season this year, and I think Miami, Texas A&M deserves to be on that list of big non-con games. I know they've been a little bit disappointing lately, but it's like when I did the Alabama versus Texas version of this video. And people, this game not going to be no good. Why you talking about Texas terrible? Yeah, Texas has been bad lately, but it's still Alabama versus Texas. I mean, you're going to watch. Y'all are going to watch this game. I'm going to watch it. Miami versus Texas A&M. Mario Cristobal's first game against a Power 5 head coach as head coach of Miami. Jimbo Fisher, a ton of experience against Miami from back in his days coaching Florida State, so a familiar opponent to Jimbo Fisher. I mean, all the players are different, but Jimbo's not going to be intimidated by the U or anything like that. No one's intimidated by the U anymore. No, you ain't. That's what you is. You know what you is? You ain't. The U. At least they got rid of that turnover chain, thank God, didn't they? Yeah. Mario Cristobal came in and said, we are not wearing no dollar store Mardi Gras necklace every time we turn the ball, get a turnover. That's about the smartest thing Mario Cristobal has ever done. Now, if he could get rid of Ed Reed, he'd be well on the way. Is Ed Reed still running around down there with a mob job? Can somebody let me know? Why they hired Ed Reed and made him, what is Ed Reed's title? Director of Football Operations? What the hell does that mean? Ed Reed. Ed Reed was a great safety in college and in the NFL. I don't know what you think that's doing for you down there at the University of Miami now by naming him Director of Football Operations. It's a no-show job. It's a mob job. It's like Tony Soprano running a trash company.